Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah, I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. We are sewing the invisible seam today and it is on one of these Christmas hats. We haven't got an individual tutorial on here for the mattress seam or the invisible seam, and what we're going to do is do it on this super chunky yarn so it's really clear for you to see. Also show you how I do it through the loop stitch. I filmed it a good few months ago when I was knitting these up for the photographs. Once you've gone through the tutorial, I'll tell you all about the knit along that is coming up and what you need to knit if you're going to join the knit along as well. First thing you need to organise is the length of yarn that you need. Once you've finished knitting, you need to just give yourself enough yarn to sew that seam up. I'm going to give myself about twice the length of the seam, and then I can put this yarn aside. And then the first thing we have to do after that is just secure these stitches that are still on the needle. And we do have these in the shop. If you don't have any yourself, you can get yourself organised with some of these. Have different ones with different sized holes for the different types of yarns. Okay, so what we're going to do is come at the stitches from the opposite side to where we finished. So the yarn is coming out of this side. I'm going to come at them from this side. I'm going to go through them once. And then take the needle out. And then I'm going to go through them again. Like that. Okay, so that is then caught at the top. And as you can see there, that's just drawing them all in to what looks like some petals at the top of a flower. There you go. So we're now going to start sewing down the seam, catching one stitch on each side alternatively as we go down. So let's start from this side. Now, what we're looking for is the columns of stitches. The columns of stitches are little V's. That's a V, V, V. All of these little V's are stitches. And yes, you can see them sat next to each other near the end of the row. That's the very last stitch, and that's the penultimate stitch on the row. What we're going to do is catch the little piece of yarn that sits in between them there. In between the stitches, there's a single loop of yarn there, there, and there. That's what we're looking for as we create this invisible or mattress seam. So I'm going to pick the first one up there, move my yarn through it. There we go. Now I need to find the same piece of yarn on the opposite side. So again, we have columns of stitches coming down, and that's the first stitch and that's the second stitch on the row. So I'm going to just go up to the top here and find that first strand. There we go. Okay, so we just have to move slowly down, picking up one strand at a time, moving from one side to the other. One stitch and then the other, just moving from one side to the other. And it's a bit like threading the laces in a shoe. You just go from one side to the other, and then as you pull them tight, the laces get tighter. And with this, as you pull them tight, you actually lose sight of them altogether. There we go. That looks like it's basically one row of stitches next to the other. So that's why it's called an invisible seam. And we call this the mattress stitch as well. There we go. So I'm just moving from one side to the next, and I will start to make my way all the way down here. Now as you reach the end of the green here, there is a small chance that you will be just out of sync, so you'll be reaching the white on one side 2 stitches before the other. This is more likely when you have more stitches. It's more likely when you have smaller stitches as well, because you're just more likely to miss one or catch 2 at once. So just be aware as you come down here. With this kind of seam, with this thick yarn, I will be likely to actually unravel it and start again, and then I'm more likely. I will just be that little bit more careful about how I pick them up. And it's not difficult to unravel. You just go through picking the yarn out 1 stitch at a time, just opening the seam up as you go, and you'll see it. But it looks like in this instance I've actually caught them 1 at a time, and I'm there all at once in the right number of stitches on both sides. So what I'm going to do here is just let you know that one thing you could do is very literally, quite happily, go all the way through the white stitches with the green. Because this is invisible, you won't actually see it. But what you can also do is decide for yourself to pick up the white thread and use that to continue the seam. Now, you might want to do that for a couple of reasons. And that might be very simply because you run out of yarn. I've just got that green thread here to catch there. You might have run out of yarn as you get down here. You'll get used to estimating how much you need, and like I have, I've made sure I've got more than enough. So yeah, because when you get down the bottom here you can tighten it, you're likely to have enough. So I would be happy to go through this with the green yarn, but let's just do this with the white yarn. Let's pick up the white yarn and start doing this seam with that. So what we need to do is come at it from behind. So I'm going to come out of the yarn, come out of it where the green yarn finishes. I'm going to come in behind there. There. Now I can just continue where the green yarn finishes. So I need to just be aware of where that last stitch is and go right next to it. And then I can do the same thing on this side. This is garter stitch, remember, we're doing knitting on every row. So it's slightly different to the stocking stitch that we did up here. Just be very aware of where you're picking up the stitches from and what it looks like on each side as you go through the stitch. So we have that little bit of thread there, and then it's kind of hidden in between the stitch there, and it's hidden in between the stitch there. Don't get the loops caught. So we've got that thread that's just very obvious there, and it's very obvious there, and then it's hidden just like it was with the stocking stitch with the green. There it is. As you get to the end here, the stitches do kind of get caught in the cast on, so don't be too finicky about it. As long as you've got it, it will be fine. As long as you've caught it, you'll be okay. Okay, so I'm just now going to just move my needle into the cast on edge, and there you go. It's that simple. Okay, you can do the invisible seam now, and you can wear your hats once you've finished as well. These are available over in the shop. You can get the kit or you can get the knitting pattern. This is super chunky yarn. We use big wool with this. It is that yarn up there. You can see the red, green and white over there on the shelf, ready to be packed up for your knitting kit. And yes, all you need is 2 balls of yarn, so you've got the colour and you've got the pom and band colour as well. What are we knitting for the knit along? Well, it's called the Anything Goes Knit Along, so guess what? You can knit anything. It is starting this Friday, and this evening is the last time you could join. I'm closing the store this evening, so if you want to get in and join the knit along, then it's £30. But if you buy anything else from the shop, then you get 25% discount. You just need to put any cal in the coupon option in the checkout, and you're done, you're organised. We've got 3 live video calls. Most of the time you will be sat in the chat talking with others and typing in lots of comments. You can put questions in a comments box and I will sit there and answer your questions, whether it's about my patterns, it's about the kits, whether it's about anyone else's patterns or just knitting in general. I'm happy to answer any questions. And yes, by all means come on video, show me the yarn that you're using, show me the knit that you're knitting through, and again, you can ask me questions live on video as well. If you watched last week's video, Building Knitting Habits, then you'll know that this is going to be a real big help and a real drive for you to keep going through more and more weeks and really into the winter and set that habit in place. I really love it when we do this. It's the kind of calls we used to do with the membership, which is actually closed now. So if you're joining a knit along, it's pretty much the only option for getting one-to-one feedback from me, you know, in a more private space. On YouTube, we can only do so much with a live, and I do them maybe once a quarter now. So they're not that common here on YouTube. I really cannot commit to any more than that currently. So yes, if you want to get one-to-one with me, if you want to build that habit, if you want to get your knitting going and you want to join other knitters and really get to know other knitters who are part of this community as well, then come along and join the Anything Goes Knit Along. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed your invisible seam tutorial, and I will be back next week with the pom tutorial. Okay, I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. Happy knitting.